Welcome, this is AllMinucOne Quick Shots. So, folks, there is some news today that actually shows right-wingers for once in a terrorist plot. Actual news. This is important because there has been no news despite the constant onset of the media, the mainstream media, the legacy media, of saying that it is happening. There is rarely something that happens. Often, the people who are claimed to be right-wingers are on the left. And whatever we mean by right or left, again, let's make that clear. People who want collectivism on the left, people who like very big government, tyranny essentially, making you their slave, and people who want, ultimately, liberty. This isn't a matter of if someone's racist or not. Just about everybody on the left is a racist. Literally. They say all white people are evil. They think that black folk can't, get a license, therefore that we can't have voter ID, that kind of stuff. Obviously, they're racist. Obviously, they believe certain things about your immutable characteristics that reflect your personality or character. It's just not something that generally is on the right, because we're individualists on the right. We believe in being individuals, so we tend to judge people as individuals. Now, of course, there's stereotypes and whatever else, and that always plays in, and those stereotypes are often true, but it doesn't mean that if you're a black guy, you're a gangbanger, or if you're a white dude, you're, a school shooter. Let's put it that way. So, real quick, this is from Fox 47. This is Lansing and Jackson. I picked this because it was the first thing I could find from Michigan itself, but it says 13 charged and plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Whitmer targets state government. And they essentially, it was a militia group that was infiltrated by the FBI because someone talked about it. And they decided they were going to go in and remove Whitmer personally because she's been a tyrant. And this is the stuff I've been warning about. I don't want this. I don't want war. I don't want violence. But when your government is doing these things, you better expect a reaction. And Whitmer's thought this whole time she can ignore the Supreme Court, she can ignore the legislature, she can ignore the protests, she can call them Nazis and all that other stuff because they held a sign up calling her a Nazi with a little Hitler mustache and whatever else. It was Governor Hitler Whitmer, right? They were protesting her, and then the news wanted to turn that around and say, whoa, no, that wasn't the case. Go over to Carlin Borisenko's show on YouTube and watch her interview the Michigan protesters for opening up the state. You can't deprive your entire people of their ability, their constitutional right to assemble because of some little disease. And I know people died. If you look at the numbers, the people died at the beginning. Those people were going to die of this thing because everyone is going to get this. It's how it works. And despite what Donald Trump or Mike Pence says, I do not believe that a vaccine is coming. That is based on the science and historical evidence of the vaccination of any sort of coronavirus. It's never happened. Hell, the seasonal flu that they try and vaccinate you with only has a 30% chance, 40% chance of immunizing you. And you have to get one every year. Like, folks, we got to live with this thing. We got to open our economies. Whitmer has been struck down by the Supreme Court of Michigan, and she's been told to open back up, and she's still just like salivating for power. And unfortunately for Michigan, she cannot be voted out yet because she has another 2 years on her term. Now, maybe she can be recalled. I don't know the rules in Michigan for recall, but that is possible. But we certainly don't want this. We certainly do not want people charged in a plot to kidnap her. And I've been talking about this, actually. I talk about this on the Ends Justify the Memes. I think I was just talking about it last night. I don't understand why we don't see more vigilante squads. Other than I think most people on the right care if they hurt somebody. They have more morals. There's a lot of people on the right who are atheists, but they still believe in the non-aggression principle. Now, I think a lot of people on the right believe if you attack them, they're allowed to, mollywop you afterwards. But it's, self-defense is not the same thing as having a terror plot. And this is a terror plot because what terrorism is the use of violence or intimidation to gain political means. So at the same time, Antifa and Black Lives Matter are also terror plots because they're in the streets doing mass violence, riots, looting, murders, beatings. That's all terrorism, folks. It's all the same. I read yesterday a Intercept article talking about how Trump turned the immigration thing inwards toward these people. Well, there's a reason why he turned it toward these people. But right here we have the Trump administration's FBI locking up this group of 13 people who would be considered right-wing. Now, I almost guarantee you start delving into their politics, they're a mixed bag of folks. But this is what happens when you get ever-encroaching tyrannical government. This is what happens when you get prolonged lockdowns. This is what happens when you get riots and crazy things in the streets. And this is what happens when you lock up people who actually defend themselves. You get people who become desperate and hopeless, and they decide that they are going to take things into their own hands. They decide that it is time to refresh the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants, as Thomas Jefferson once said. And Whitmer is a tyrant. However, the way to fight this is within the courts. It is through the election system. We can make an argument if everything breaks down, we're in a truly totalitarian state. Michigan isn't quite there, but they're kind of close. But I mean, we're literally with police everywhere and military forces everywhere, and people are quartering, and those police and military forces are coming in and they're raping your wife because they just can. That is a different kind of scenario. That is the kind of scenario that was going on during the American Revolution, or at least the lead up toward the American Revolution. But people will only take so much, especially here in America. And people often speculate, where is that rebellious American spirit? Well, I think most of us want to be left well enough alone. But you will enrage people. And all of this is just tinder for the fire, because we are in the middle of a cold civil war. We are in a culture war that has been raging for a very long time. It started in the 60s particularly, but has come boiling up and boiling over in the last 8-10 years. And particularly in the last 6 years since there was a new election coming. I must remind you, the rise of Antifa and Black Lives Matter both were under the Obama administration. That goes back to at least 2012. Before that, the big thing was the Tea Party. The Tea Party was peaceful. Those were people on the right, and they were disparaged by the media. And nobody on the right trusts the media. We still pay attention to it, but we don't trust it because they lie constantly to propagandize and gaslight people. On the left, they absolutely trust it, and they don't watch other alternative sources of media. So the gaslighting and the lies is the truth to them. This creates an ideological subversion that is just wrought with evil and an expectation of conflict. I warned the day before the Kyle Rittenhouse incident in Kenosha. Now, I don't think Kyle went there to shoot anybody or anything. He went there to protect and help people. And unfortunately, you had some really, really deranged people. Every single one of them, criminals, former criminals. And I do believe in redemption. But let's not mince words here, folks. They were not good people. And every single one of them, I'm not saying deserved to die, but they attacked him. And in that attacking of him, they forfeited their right to life, at least under the normal state of law and the founding law of the United States. You have a right to protect yourself. Now, you could take a higher road and allow yourself to be beaten. You could take a higher road and be a pacifist. And I do believe that is the highest road. Christ said to turn the other cheek. But how many people are really going to do that? How many people are going to hold back their anger? How many people until the retaliation truly starts? This, my friends, this right here is an example of exactly the stuff that I am trying to say. Let us calm down and not let happen, because I know, I understand history. I read it. I understand human psychology. I read it. I study it. I've been involved in it for years professionally. You have to get how human beings react when they feel like they have no other choice. Now, these other folks, these Antifa and Black Lives Matter folks, this isn't about them feeling like they have no other choice. Yeah, they're staunch socialists or whatever, so perhaps they have no other choice in their mind but to destroy the system so they can bring in their supposed utopia. But for the most part, they are dark-souled people that aren't individualized, and they're caught up in this collective nonsense. The reason why this incident in Michigan was only 13 people is because the right is not that organized, because it's individualistic primarily. Again, understand these differences, but it won't matter. It won't matter. Eventually, this will all get worse. And this is also why I think we need to vote for Trump, because Harris and Biden will do nothing about this. In fact, this isn't a threat saying, oh, right-wingers will, go crazy if Harris and Biden gets elected. No, I'm just saying that I don't think that Harris and Biden will actually allow stop the radicals, the radicals that have been doing mass rioting and looting and arson and murders in the streets. We had a guy in Portland who was literally executed, stalked and executed because he was a Trump supporter. The mayor of Portland, his apartment complex was attacked. So we can talk about right-wing radicalism. We can talk about Gretchen Whitmer and her lockdowns and this terrible plot to kidnap her and everything else. But let's recall that the left went to the governor of Portland's apartment complex and set the bottom floor on fire and set off fireworks and threatened him. Also in Seattle, they went to the mayor's house, and that's when she finally cracked down on things. So let's look at who's actually doing the majority of this violence and understand that people on the right stay away from this, but also understand there will be people who just get pushed too far. And violence begets violence, folks. It's the Hatfield and the McCoys. We can't have these blood feuds in a civil society or a strong society. It is completely terrible. And I think that they need to get Whitmer out of office, but plotting to kidnap her and various other things is not the way. Fortunately, there was someone that narked them out, and the FBI got involved. So that's good. It's a good thing. And that's a perfect example of where law and order needs to be used and how it should be used. And it should be used against these other groups that are doing terrible things. In any case, I've gone a little long, but this has been all -1 quick shots, and I wish you all well.